Hi everybody, this is Russell from Let's Get Racing. I'm joined by Dougie Costello, who's going to be riding Rizzo for us at Wolverhampton tomorrow. We took this opportunity to interview Dougie so that you could understand a little bit about what a jockey does on race day and a little bit of the experience for the horse and the jockey on race day from a jockey's perspective. Dougie's a Group 1 winning jockey, so he's run at the very, very top level. And Dougie, thanks ever so much for joining us.
Cheers, Russ.
Cheers. Well, look, we're really excited to have you ride her in her first run for us and really looking forward to the feedback that you'll be able to give us. But maybe you can tell us a bit about how you prepare to ride a horse that you haven't ridden before in a race like this.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing you'll do is you look through actually the form. And what I sort of have a thing is X's and O's. So when you look through the form, you'll your X's is the pace, and the ones that you fancy then, are like the O's. For your own horse, what we've been very lucky down over the years with your race in UK and you're at the races, you've got televised stuff, so you can go back on through actually there with libraries and look through, and you can see as it all marked out with the ground and so on, and trips as well. It's all marked out for you, but I think the replays are a big advantage because I like to watch a lot of the replays when they get beat. I know a lot of people have watched the replays when they win, but I think you'll find out more when horses would get beat than with them when they win. So I'll go through all that tomorrow, but on the way down, and we'll pull out the positives and negatives. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I know we'll get a ton of feedback from you after the race. And, one of the great things about working with you is that you give really good feedback about the horses that you've ridden. I wondered how you prepare yourself physically for a race day. So I interviewed you a few months back, just at the start of lockdown. And I think you were eating slightly differently than you might be normally. And you're not a small guy. So Dougie, can I just ask, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
5'10", 5'10", so sort of tall, average to taller guy. And how much do you weigh?
Probably today I'm weigh about 9'4".
9'4".
Yeah,
So that's really light. That's really light for your frame. So how do you get into that shape to be riding in the races?
Well, it's a lot of discipline, a lot of not eating the foods you want to the bare minimum of margins. But it takes your body a while to adjust. What I've always been sort of a lightweight sort of guy. But even when I was jumping, I wasn't very big, but I could always eat as much as I wanted. I'm massive into my carbs. I love my carbs, and I get quite with mood swings if I don't have enough of carbs. So I normally used to balance it out with carbs equal exercise, So I would exercise, I would exercise a lot and then eat a lot of carbs, and it would always balance itself out. When I started on the flat, I was kind of lighter, and I think the first year your body's in quite a bit of a shock. It lets it go, but then after a season on the flat, it starts realizing, hold on, this is every day, so it starts holding on to all them stuff you like. So as you said, last time I spoke to you, I think I was about with anywhere from 9'7" to 9'10". I would have been. I still wasn't quite large. It was only a few extra pounds, really. But it's when you start dieting, it's trying to get yourself beyond that point. It's kind of like you have to break the seal to get below certain numbers, and once you do, then your body will adjust and let you go. So I've been literally, this is the first time I've had sort of this long off on the flat. And it's a learning curve for me as well this time around because I've never had this long off on the flat. So I came back. I was probably about 9'7", but I sort of cut back. The first thing I'd done 2 weeks prior to the first meeting, I backed off my carbs. Backed off my carbs. And then I backed off with upper body stuff like your weights and stuff like that, and I just stuck to a lot of running and cycling. And in the second week, then I backed off even more carbs and more food, a lot more water, 4 to 5 liters a day, more protein, and then just literally started taking hot baths. So we use hot baths as jockeys to sweat with. We aren't allowed saunas at the race course while with this virus was going on. which is a big no-no for me because I've always found the sauna a lot easier to actually work with.
Sure.
So I've literally been this last couple of weeks. I've been literally running a lot. We're not eating a lot and sweating in hot baths at 40 degrees. I did buy myself a hot tub a couple of seasons back, so it's been a couple of nights sitting within the hot tub to drop 2-3 pounds. So I've done 9 stone last Saturday, so I got the seal broke there.
Sure.
I got 9.2 again tomorrow. I done 9.2 today. I got 8.13 on Thursday. So it's not too bad with this new decks we have, because normally it's a 2-day decks we have. We got a 72-hour decks now, so you got your 3 days in advance. So you try and just keep tightening the belt more fruit, more water and stuff like that, and get to bed early and don't eat late and so on.
Sure. And of course, Dougie, you're giving us these weights that you're doing, but for those people who don't realize, that's your body weight, including the saddle that you'll be riding in as well. So it's even lighter than those weights that your body weight on its own is, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can say, like, I got all the extra light gear. So as jockeys, we'll have different saddles. I'm sure in the next interview I can bring in some saddles and show you. But I got three types of saddles. I got my heavy saddle, which weighs about 2.5 pounds. To be dressed to be 3 pound girths and stuff like that. That would go around the horse to skewer the saddle onto. My middle saddle's about 2 pound. My lightweight saddle is literally, it would be as big as a pear, you could say, but it would weigh dressed as a pound dressed. That's with girths and everything. So I would literally have to be uh, from I would need 2.5 pounds from the bare skin flesh to your racing gear to do the weights. So we see the weights at 9 stone, but we get allowances of 3 pound for a back pad. And then you can do that weight, say, from that weight on. So if I'm 9 stone stripped, I could do 9 stone off 9 stone stripped. That's with all the extra gear, light gear, which is not cheap. They're all imported from Japan and China. But yeah, it is an everyday day thing, and it's a lot of fluid on and off. So
Sure.
so yeah, it's just with man management that
Sure. So
as much you can.
good to hear about how you prepare for the horse and the data you look for in terms of their previous runs. Really interesting to understand the limits you push your body to get yourself down to a weight to ride races in. It'd be great to hear a little bit about Wolverhampton, which is the track that Risaalaat's going to be running at. Obviously, you're incredibly experienced. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the quirks of the track and the surface that you're racing on?
Yeah, but it's an all-weather surface. It's a wax surface based, so when it heats up, it gets quite slow. If you bit like when the tide would come in and go back out again, it's that sort of hard work to run off. When the weather is wet and that, it tightens up a lot, so it's a bit more easier to run on. Um, Tomorrow the weather's meant to be nice, but I've had a consistent bit of rain for the last 3-4 days. So tomorrow I say it'd be standard. I've not would even looked, but I couldn't see why it wouldn't be standard. We've had a nice bit of rain for the last 3-4 days. It should be, should ride like good ground. Um, Wolverhampton itself is a tight left-handed track. You get 2 bends and 2 nice straights in it. The straights are probably about 2.5 furlongs off the home bend turning in. It can become very tactical around there. You normally over, your mile and a half, or even like your mile one, if you're a little bit slow away, you'd like to have a higher draw. So if you get to know your horse, so your horse is a tad bit slow, you'd rather be a middle to high on the draws, because you can keep wide, you can loop the field, because what they normally do is everybody jumps to get a position. So the first furlong is fast. And then once it get out around the first bend and they turn in for the straight in a mile and a half, they normally slow things down. So the mile and a half can be a little bit stop-start pace. So yeah, it's a tight left on the track with a 2.5 furlong straight. and they normally like to come middle to outer at Wolverhampton. Not a lot of races is won down the rail, because a lot of the all-weather tracks are like to just harrow the inside of the track a little bit slower, so that stops the congestion, the compacting of horses up the straight. Because if everybody is winning down the rail, well, then when they turn off the home bend, you'll get a lot of stewards' inquiries and with interference and jockeys getting themselves in all sorts of bother. So what they like to try and do is make sure the insides of the with all weather tracks are riding that a little bit slower. So a lot of times we aim to come middle to outer at Wolverhampton.
Great. And Risaalaat, and I'm sure Mark's briefed you on this, Risaalaat's quite keen going in most of her races so far, and she certainly is in her work as well. So I think my expectation would be she might be quite keen tomorrow as well during the race. What are some of the techniques? By keen, we mean that the horse wants to go quite fast. And so what sort of techniques do you have as a jockey to relax the horse and perhaps make her calm down and be a little less keen during the race?
Yeah, with everything really starts from when you get first at races with the horse. So it probably falls into the hands of the groom and with trainer as well. Everything to keep it under lid. No big rushing, no panicking. When you get the saddle on, to make sure that it's all sort of slow and steady. And then the first thing you'll do as a jockey is when you get on their backs, you try and be gentle about everything, and just with like the animal actually understands that you're not going to be that aggressive type on their back, so they will get the senses the minute they see you walking towards them. And then as a rider, it's a lot about fishing with horses. Like, they're a ton animal, so you can never really, a 9 stone or 9'4" person like myself, you cannot really hold a ton animal with a steel bar within their mouth and 2 light little reins down their side. So it's a bit of give and take. I spoke to Mark and he said he'd like it to be in the first half with just a bit of settled, but I'll speak to him again tomorrow. But with everything, with his baby steps, as you say, sometimes horses can run very keen, but yet they can enjoy themselves by running very keen on the bridle. The bit, which is the bar bit that goes in their mouth, that's like a snug blanket to actually a lot of horses. Some horses had bad experiences with this whenever they're younger. Some, just for some reason, they might like the taste of the bit or whatever. So it depends what type of keenness it is, and what way they hug the bit. But a lot of horses like to just hug that bit and use it as a snug blanket. You'll hear a lot of punters say, "Oh, the jockey said too long," but a lot of the time the jockey's trying to keep that bit in the horse's mouth to keep him breathing well and traveling well and enjoying himself, and a bit of comfort as well. And then when they start pushing a horse, they might keep a bit high in the mouth as well, just to help it through that scenario. But a lot of the times with horses that are keen, it's always about just doing things with baby steps and try not to rush it. It's slowly,
Sure.
and just make sure they get the confidence off you.
Great. Well, Dougie, thanks ever so much for joining us for this interview. We're really looking forward to your feedback after the race. Obviously, it's the first time that you will have ridden Risaalaat, first time that she's run for Mark, and we're really looking forward to your feedback around how we can use this first race as a kind of springboard into the rest of the season, and your feedback will be a huge part of that. So thanks ever so much for riding her. We're looking forward to your feedback tomorrow, and we'll hear from you after the race, no doubt.
Cheers, brilliant. Yeah, no, exactly. I'll speak to you after the race.
Cheers,
Hopefully
Dougie.
it's with good news.
Thanks. Fingers
Cheers,
crossed.
thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.